Most people think real estate experience is based on how long they've had their license. After 5 years in the business, I've learned that it's really about the mistakes you survived and the ones you help your clients avoid in the future. In this short video, you're going to learn what 5 years of experience was like in the real estate industry. What do most buyers and sellers misunderstand about real estate? I would say most people, when they think about real estate, they think of like the perfect house or the perfect time to buy, the perfect time to sell, when ultimately they should just be prepared, whether that's financially or mentally, or initiating that mindset so that when that perfect property arrives, you can make a move on it. I think a lot of people get stuck on the home that, oh, it needs to be absolutely perfect for me to move into this home. And ultimately they never move, because think about it. I like to explain it to my clients where you have 10 boxes that you check off for the home that you like. The price point, the location, maybe a backyard or big living room, open concept, whatever. You have 10 boxes, but your pen only has enough ink to check off 7 of them, right? So you have to figure out what is ultimately most important to you and what can you sacrifice or can you change later with that home. So don't wait for the perfect time or the perfect house, because you'll never get there. So markets reward strategy, not hesitation. So meaning if you are prepared and you have a strategy and you have a game plan with your agent, you're way more likely to have success in finding that property, because you have those expectations set. You have that plan in place. If you all of a sudden the house that you absolutely love comes on the market tomorrow, are you able to scramble and get your finances in order and get everything submitted in time? You're setting yourself up to miss out on opportunities like that. So have a strategy, have a game plan, have a great realtor to understand expectations. And the best outcomes come from clarity, not just predictions. When I share information with my client or share a strategy that is either knowledge-based or that is factual, data-driven, decision-based, or a real-life scenario that I have had success with another client, to where that is why I'm sharing that information with you. So it's not just like, oh, I think this could happen, or I think if you did this, you might be able to get the house. My business and my team is not based on predictions and hope. So it is very data driven. We make our decisions with intent and with data to back it up. What mistakes do you see people make when choosing the wrong agent? Oh man, choosing the wrong agent can not only be detrimental to your deal, but also your stress level. It could cost you more money. It can potentially get you in a lawsuit. Like, there's so many bad things that can happen if you choose the wrong agent. I would say a mistake that people make is choosing the agent based off their personality or their relation with that person. You know, I have seen a lot of people say, oh, my son-in-law or my brother-in-law or my, cousin just got their license and I should use them because we're related and, I have a good relationship with them. And I've heard so many horror stories of whether it's family members or close friends that use agents based on, personality or relation, rather than actually having them be a proven realtor with a great track record and knows the ins and outs of the market and is successful in that way. So don't choose your agent just based off of relation or knowing that person. Make sure they actually know what they're doing and are successful in the business. Another mistake I see people make is when they're selling their house and the agent says, oh, I can get you X dollar amount, no problem. That is a big red flag, I think. That's called buying the listing in realtor terms. You promise or create empty promises that, oh, your home is worth X. If you hire me, I can get you that dollar, no problem. But then as time goes by, without proper feedback or full marketing, there's so many aspects to that. Ultimately, those listings become expired. And then, if that's a family member or a great friend of yours, that can be awkward at Thanksgiving. That also leads to my next point of weak negotiating. They can't negotiate on their fee or other clients that they've represented. how are they going to represent you and your best interests in negotiating the right terms for you? So make sure they're a great negotiator for themselves and then also for their clients. Another mistake I see is that choosing an agent that has poor communication. Real estate can be super stressful. There's a lot of money involved. There's timelines, there's deadlines. There's ultimately the stress of moving in general. My job is to not add stress, and it's actually to mitigate it for you as my client. So make sure that agent has a good, calm demeanor and can ultimately figure out solutions when problems arise. I think what helps me is definitely my athletic background, being a college athlete. You're taught to, move on to the next play. Yeah, you made a mistake or whatever. Move on and don't miss the next play. That's kind of what I have brought into my business. And I've been on the phone with many agents in a stressful situation with timelines that they can't hold their emotions or demeanor together. And ultimately, that is not professional in my opinion. So double check that. Why does experience matter more in today's market than it did a few years ago? Hot markets can hide bad strategy in real estate agents because there's no effort put in when homes are selling for over a weekend with multiple offers and the demand is so high. There's no footwork that needs to be done. So that's why a lot of agents in that time will think that, oh, this job is really easy until they hit a more balanced or opposite market than the one that they're in. I've seen sellers markets, I have seen now buyers markets, and the differences between those two, and those strategies are a lot different. Experience shows up in the pricing, timing, and leverage, not just hype of the market. And it makes sense that the longer you are a real estate agent, the more time you have seen in the marketplace where these different buyers and sellers cycles happen because you've done deals in those timelines and know how to avoid situations or capitalize on them. What do you do differently now than you did in year one? Oh my gosh, probably everything. Oh man, talking with clients, sharing expectations, my systems that I use to delegate my transactions, my contract knowledge, my situation-based learning, so much. Probably one of the bigger things is setting expectations up front and learning my client's situation before automatically taking them on as a client. I want to make sure that I have the tools and resources to help you. I know that I'm capable, but based on your situation, I might not be the best fit for you, and that's okay, and I will admit that. But when I was brand new, I was taking on every client that I could and just trying to make a name for myself. And now that I'm more comfortable in not only my brand, but my position as an agent, I take on clients a little bit more carefully. I ask a little bit more questions. I want to be able to make sure we're a great fit first before we work together, because we want to make sure we like each other, because we're going to be talking every day for 3 to 6 months sometimes. Liking your agent and client relationship is super important in my book. I would say another thing that I do differently is I assess the situation on all parties and try to find a solution for everybody to move everyone to the next step and ultimately the goal of where they want to get to. Whether that's buyer or seller, doesn't matter. I really take my time to assess the situation, ask more questions, and dig deeper into why we're doing that thing or why the other side is asking me for specific information to better understand and better help my client move the needle forward. So based on that, my confidence now comes from the repetition of deals that I've done, transactions that I've dealt with, clients that I've helped, not just optimism or thinking I can do it. I know I can do it. What should buyers and sellers focus on in the next 12 to 24 months? I would say the local data matters more than the national headlines that you see. Oh man, I get tons of questions online saying, hey Ben, is this true? How does this affect me? And a lot of the national news and headlines are for attention. So double check with your agent to see if that's even relevant to you. And if so, what resources and knowledge does your agent have to walk you through that step or explain what that means in real estate terms? Because we've had some major changes lately that people would freak out over when ultimately it was just another piece of paper to sign or disclose on, and it was very minor in the grand scheme of things. So don't freak out about national headlines. Another thing people should focus on is that negotiations are back. It is not just a heavy seller's market anymore with limited inventory and no options, and you're fighting against 10 other buyers for a property. Buyers have leverage now, so both sellers and buyers need to coordinate and strategize a little bit differently in order to get to the finish line. And I'm having a lot of buyers right now get some crazy deals on some houses depending on seller situations and what they're willing to do and fix for my buyers to move in and ultimately buy their house. Because buyers have options, and with affordability now, it's very tough to get in. But once you're in, once you gain some equity, you have some money to play with moving forward and play the real estate game right. So the markets that I work in, which are Portland and Southwest Washington, they move kind of the same way. They're very similar, but they do have their differences, and knowing those differences will help you have that upper hand in moving to the next step. What's the biggest lesson you've learned in 5 years? Wow, that's a good one. I would say trust is built on all the small things, right? You hear from your girlfriend or your wife or whatever, say, oh, it's the small things that, I shouldn't say that. Trust is built on the small moments, I think. So whether that's contracts, whether that's communication, whether that's showing empathy or understanding your client's situation and guiding them through that process, talking about expectations up front so there's no surprises. That is what has ultimately given me the confidence that I know that my clients love that about me. And ultimately, that's how I gain their trust. And if you don't trust your real estate agent and trust their professional opinion that they work in this industry every day on, you're gonna struggle, whether that's both agent or client. Like I said before, my job is to reduce your stress in the home buying or selling or investing process. There's a lot that goes into it. There's a lot of contracts, there's a lot of deadlines, there's a lot of rules, and there's a lot of risk in not knowing what you're doing. And so that's why for me as an agent and my company, we spend so much time on classes and keeping up on knowledge and trends and contract changes and laws that affect the real estate industry and ultimately protect not only myself, but my clients and their best interest. 5 years in real estate did not make me perfect by any means, but it made me prepared for what is to come in the next 5 years, whether that's buying, selling, investing, or working with future clients. So if you're thinking about making a move in 2026, my job is to help you do it with confidence and not pressure. This has been the Cowboy Realtor. Thank you so much for watching, and here's to the next 5 years.